Meantime, a big debate brewing over Al Gore's environmental crusade. While Hollywood environmentalists are singing his praises, the New York Times, of all people, the New York Times is now suggesting that Gore's global warming jargon is far-fetched. An article in the Times today highlights scientists who doubt Gore's science claims, calling them exaggerated, in some cases erroneous, and with, quote, a lot of inaccuracies. If left-wing papers like the New York Times are focusing on skeptics of Al Gore's science, is his global warming crusade really just much ado about Al Gore and less ado about the planet? With me now, Chris Horner, author of the book, The Politically Incorrect Guide to Global Warming and Environmentalism. Now, I'm sure, Chris, you're still trying to get your eyes back in your head to see the New York Times taking a swing at Al Gore's inconvenient truth. What was that all about?
Well, better late than never. We welcome to the growing chorus of criticism of this movie before that PowerPoint presentation, which I saw over a year ago in person when he came to a meeting I attended in Washington. And it's been well known to be full of half-truths, misleading statements, and flat-out non-truths, including fairly spectacular ones, for over a year. I'm happy they came about. The reason I think they did is because in the past 3 weeks we've seen more and more, including politically left-wing, though that shouldn't matter, scientists come out and say that in fact either they just reviewed the science or the developing science, obviously not being settled, is trending against the alarmist position. The UN report obviously, if you take it on face value, which you shouldn't, in and of itself debunks the former vice president's claims. So I think it can't be that people are just now looking at the content of Mr. Gore's movie. I mean, he's already won an Oscar. So it's got to be this movement of people coming out of the woodwork of all political stripes, all scientific disciplines, saying that this thing is full of some pretty egregious misstatements that cannot possibly be, as I point out in my book, accidents.
Chris, you work the political side of the street, too. Mm-hmm. Is this essentially the New York Times saying, Al Gore is not our candidate, we're going to start criticizing him now, we want somebody else?
Well, even if that wasn't the intended message, while I may not have picked up on that immediately, I think Mr. Gore likely did, choosing to correspond even with the ever-trustworthy, for liberals, New York Times, only by email. Think about that. Only by email, likely reviewed by somebody else. He won't sit down to interviews. The Times coming after his facts. If it was a remarkably fair piece, they could have been far more severe. In fact, if you want more severe, read my book. But this probably sends an intended message that he might not want to consider running.
All right. Chris Horner, author of the Politically Incorrect Guide to Global Warming and Environmentalism. Chris, thanks very much.
Thanks, John.
Meantime, the